Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel if you've been here before. I hope you are ready for another historic video today. As you've probably already noticed, if you are subscribed to the channel, we have been focusing on abandoned theme parks and attractions that have been here in the past and some eerie stories because they are actually fascinating. I really do enjoy making those sorts of documentary style videos for you, and I just wanted to make an appearance here on the channel because in the last few videos I haven't actually made an appearance, so I just wanted to check in with you guys and say hello personally, and wanted to know if you do like these types of videos. If you do, then we really would appreciate if you leave a like and if you comment on the video as well, telling us what you want to see in the future, any other attractions that you're aware about, or theme parks that are no longer with us, or any attraction style, maybe even cruise related videos, because we are into our cruising as well, and we have some cruise related videos on the channel as well which you can go and check out. But if you have any stories that you know about that are really interesting and eerie which we haven't yet covered on the channel, then just contact us because we will be happy to look into those and make videos about them as well, because it really does fascinate us, the history of the parks and what has been, and just the whole eerie atmosphere of those sorts of things. And I think this time of year is a great time to make those sorts of videos because it's cold outside, it's still not very welcoming, the sun isn't shining very much. Well, not here anyway, it depends obviously where you live, but here in Europe it's dreary and constantly raining and very cold. So I think they're good videos to get into when you're just at home and want to relax on the sofa with a nice cup of tea or hot chocolate or whatever you prefer. Yeah, so we're going to continue making these sorts of videos in between others, and we really hope you do enjoy them. So if you do enjoy them, let us know that you enjoy them. We would really appreciate it. We also like covering different types of landmarks on the channel. We've covered the London Eye, which is obviously in itself an attraction as well, located on London's South Bank. We went into the history of London Eye and all it has to offer and why it's even there. And today we're going to do a similar sort of video. You've probably haven't obviously by the thumbnail and the title by now that we're going to be covering the Blackpool Tower, located obviously in Blackpool itself, where Blackpool Tower came from, who created Blackpool Tower, what it was designed to be, and what it is today. So without further ado, I will now be quiet and let you enjoy this video.
The summer holiday rush hasn't started yet, but when it does, Blackpool will be ready, so come on up to the top. Did you know that the famous tower is nearly 600 feet high and is visited by almost 500,000 people every year?
There are few landmarks in Britain as instantly recognisable as the Blackpool Tower. Rising 518 feet above the Lancashire coastline, its iron lattice silhouette cutting through the sea mist, glowing gold against the night sky. For more than a century, it has welcomed millions, but Blackpool Tower is more than just a structure. It is a story about ambition, competition, engineering brilliance, and a seaside town determined to capture the imagination of a nation. Because when the idea was first proposed, many believed it was reckless. Some thought it would collapse. Others believed nobody would come and visit. Yet today, it remains one of Britain's most beloved landmarks. This is the story of Blackpool Tower, from Victorian gamble to national treasure. To understand why Blackpool Tower exists, you have to step back into Victorian Britain. The late 1800s were a time of enormous transformation. Factories roaded and cities expanded. Railways stitched the country together. For the first time in history, ordinary working people gained something previously reserved for the wealthy: paid holidays. And when factory workers wanted escape from the smoke-filled industrial cities, they went to the seaside. Blackpool was perfectly positioned. It had flat beaches, lots of fresh air, and long promenades. But most importantly, it had brilliant rail connections. And by the 1870s, hundreds of thousands were arriving every single summer. Within decades, that number would climb into the millions, and Blackpool wasn't just a town anymore. It was becoming Britain's playground. But success brought competition, and results across the country were expanding. If Blackpool wanted to stay ahead, it needed something extraordinary. In the year 1889, the world changed. Paris unveiled the Eiffel Tower, a structure so tall, so radical, that many initially called it an absolute eyesore. Yet almost overnight, it became the most famous building on Earth, and British entrepreneurs took notice. If Paris could build a tower that drew global crowds, why couldn't Blackpool? Enter John Bickerstaff, Blackpool's mayor. After seeing the Eiffel Tower himself, he became convinced that a similar attraction could transform the town forever. Not a copy, but something uniquely British. A tower that would signal to visitors even from miles away, you've arrived somewhere special. Investors were gathered, plans were drafted, and in the 1890s, the Blackpool Tower Company was formed.
Fortunes have been made and made again and lost again, all along this 7-mile promenade. Blackpool is a town that knows only one kind of enterprise, private enterprise. What you do in Blackpool, you do for yourself. It's up to you, because Blackpool is built on an idea. Competition.
Still, critics were everywhere. The ground near the seafront was sandy, notoriously difficult for heavy construction, and storm winds battered the coastline. Some locals feared the tower would dominate the skyline in the worst possible way, but the Victorians were not known for thinking small, and construction was approved. Work on the Blackpool Tower began in the year 1891. The engineering challenge was enormous. Unlike inland structures, the tower had to withstand relentless coastal weather, salt corrosion, violent winds, and shifting ground. Engineers solved this by sinking massive concrete foundations, reinforced with iron piles driven deep beneath the surface. The design by architects James Maxwell and Charles Tooke were inspired by the Eiffel Tower, but deliberately distinct, lighter in appearance, more decorative, and integrated into a full entertainment complex. Over 2,500 tons of steel were used. Piece by piece, rivet by rivet, the structure climbed skyward. Workers balanced on narrow beams hundreds of feet up, often with minimal safety equipment. Miraculously and unusually for the era, no workers died during the construction, and by 1894, the tower was ready.
Do you know that the famous tower is nearly 600 feet high and is visited by almost 500,000 people every year? Among that 500,000 are the painters, perched like flies above the promenade. They keep at it every day of the year, but when they reach the bottom after finishing the job, it's just about time to start at the top again. But the job has its moments.
May 14, 1894. The crowds gathered along the promenade. Music played. Newspapers hailed it as an engineering marvel, and when the tower opened to the public, visitors rushed to the top for views stretching across the Irish Sea, and on clear days, even towards Wales. Unlike the Eiffel Tower, which Parisians initially protested, Blackpool Tower was embraced immediately.
Blackpool is inseparable from its tower.
By gum, lad, that's right.
The great building which dominates the coast for miles.
Blackpool's famous tower, all 500 feet of it, is the high spot of Lancashire's favourite pleasure ground.
It represented pride, confidence, and it was so modern, something that was never seen before. But what truly set it apart wasn't just its height, it was what waited inside. The tower was never meant to be just an observation platform. It was designed as an all-in-one leisure destination. And Victorians loved spectacle. Inside, visitors discovered the Tower Ballroom. Opened in 1894, it became one of the most beautiful dance floors in the world. With ornate ceilings, chandeliers, a sprung dance floor, it offered elegance previously reserved for the aristocratic venues. Here, even ordinary factory workers could waltz beneath glittering lights. It was aspirational, yet accessible. Perhaps even more astonishing, the Tower Circus. The circus arena was built below ground level. Ingenious hydraulic systems allowed the ring to flood, transforming it into a water stage. It remains one of the oldest permanent circuses still operating to this day. Early visitors could even see exotic animals, part zoo, part curiosity cabinet. Blackpool Tower wasn't just competing with seaside resorts, it was competing with imagination itself, and it was winning. Over the next decades, the tower became inseparable from Blackpool's identity, but history would test it. During World War I, Blackpool transformed into a military training hub and hospital town. The tower remained standing, a reassuring landmark during uncertain times, and during World War II, fears arose that the tower could act as a navigation beacon for enemy bombers. It was partially camouflaged. Some even proposed dismantling it. Thankfully though, that never happened. Bombs fell in the region, but the tower itself thankfully survived. And after the war, it symbolized resilience.
I want to tell you about a lovely place down by the sea. It's not in France or Italy. 'Twas made for you, 'twas made for me. The place I mean is Blackpool. There's a lovely beach and a lovely prom. The brass bands play tiddly-om-pom-pom. You'll hear the folks say "Eve-bottom." A right old place is Blackpool.
The mid-20th century brought Blackpool into its greatest era. Millions visited annually. Illuminations lit the coastline, theatres hosted comedy legends, and the Tower Ballroom gained nationwide fame thanks to television. Shows like Come Dancing turned it into a household name. Suddenly, even those who had never visited felt that they knew it, and couples spinning across that famous floor became part of British culture. The tower was no longer just architecture, it was memory, tradition, and nostalgia. But nothing stays at its peak forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we have now commenced our initial descent into Alicante, would you please return to your seats? Ensure that your seatbelts are securely fastened.
By the 1970s and the 80s, foreign package holidays were booming. Why endure unpredictable British weather when Spain offered guaranteed sunshine? And visitors' numbers declined. Maintenance costs soared, and for a moment, the future of the Blackpool Tower felt uncertain. Yet Blackpool refused to let its icon fade. The tower gained Grade 1 listing status, recognising it as a structure of exceptional historic importance. And restoration projects followed. Ownership changed hands, millions were invested. Rather than freezing it in time, developers decided to modernise the experience while protecting its Victorian soul. Today, the tower stands not just as a relic, but as a living attraction. Visitors can now, to this day, experience the Tower Eye with its thrilling glass skywalk. Launched in the year 2011 when Merlin Entertainments took over operation of the attractions. On the Tower Eye, you can experience panoramic views from the tower, across the Field coast, out to the Irish Sea, and on clear days all the way to the Lake District in Liverpool and North Wales. It has a glass floor, which is the highlight of the skywalk, a section of thick glass flooring that lets you look straight down to Blackpool's promenade, hundreds of feet below, a thrilling experience for many visitors. There's also the Bar 380, where you can enjoy drinks and refreshments while taking in the sweeping views. Visitors can also still experience the famous dance floor. The Tower Ballroom's sprung wooden dance floor is legendary, made of 30,602 individual blocks of oak, mahogany and walnut, and measuring approximately 120 feet by 102 feet. Over decades of dancing, thousands of performances, and countless TV broadcasts, the floor had become layered with lacquer and wear. But in 2022, it underwent its first major restoration in more than 30 years. And the floor specialists spent around 3 weeks stripping over 100 layers of old lacquer, sanding and resealing it, bringing it back to its original ultra-smooth brilliance.
Now, it was once described as the jewel in Blackpool's crown. The famous Tower Ballroom has played host to both professional and amateur dancers. The original wooden dance floor, made famous by performers including the Strictly Come Dancing stars, has undergone its most extensive restoration in 30 years.
In addition to the floor, the ballroom ceiling and decorative features received significant restoration, supported by a Culture Recovery Fund grant during the pandemic, helping preserve the venue's historic artwork and plasterwork. The extensive work has ensured the ballroom remains a vibrant, functional space for dancing and events, while preserving both its Victorian heritage and acoustics for organ music and live performances. Like the famous ballroom, the Tower Circus has also undergone conservation work, particularly on its ornate ceiling and structure, helping preserve it for the future generations. During one recent restoration in the late 2021 to early 2022, a time capsule was even discovered and reburied in the arena, revealing historic signatures from workers dating back to 1900. Ongoing repair work, including urgent support for the circus's historic ceiling, reflects its importance as a listed heritage venue and performance space. And I bet you're all thinking, you have forgot something very, very important, and how could I not mention it? No story of Blackpool Tower would not be complete without mentioning the Blackpool Illuminations, the famous annual festival of lights that turns the seaside town into a magical wonderland every single autumn. The illuminations themselves were actually switched on in 1879, long before the tower was built. They started as a simple display of oil lamps along the promenade to attract visitors after dark. But by the time the tower opened in 1894, electric lighting was starting to transform the displays, and the tower itself became a focal point for light shows visible for miles along the coast. Today, the illuminations stretch 6 miles along the promenade using over 1 million bulbs and thousands of LED features. The tower is a centerpiece of the festival, outlined in thousands of sparkling lights, making it instantly recognizable and creating stunning reflections across the Irish Sea on clear nights. So there we have it. Blackpool Tower is more than just steel iron, it's a symbol of ambition, creativity and resilience. From its daring Victorian beginnings, inspired by the Eiffel Tower, it is status to a cultural icon, and it has survived wars, storms, changing tourism trends and the passage of time itself. Inside, generations have danced in the Tower Ballroom, laughed at the Tower Circus and marvelled from the Tower Eye. Outside, the illuminations light up the promenade every autumn, reminding us that Blackpool is a place of joy, imagination and a spectacle. For over 130 years, it has welcomed millions of people, ordinary people and dreamers alike, offering moments of wonder, escape and memory. And perhaps that is its true magic. Not just that it stands tall, but that it continues to shine in the hearts of those who visit it. Blackpool Tower endures, it inspires, and it entertains, and it reminds us all that even the boldest dreams can stand the test of time.